Welcome to another edition of the Insider Mailbag, brought to you by Red Raider Outfitter, the fans' favorite since 1975. I'm Jared Johnson. I'm joined by the Mighty Joe Yeager. Man, Mighty Joe, beautiful day. Is hot, but not as hot as it's going to be coming up, and not as hot as it was earlier in the week. I mean, triple digits, 105 expected for this weekend. Woo, it's hot.
Yeah, enjoy this while you got it.
Yeah. Right.
It was 108 a couple of days ago, man, and 107 before that. So, hey, man, I love it. Just if it just stay like this for the rest of the summer, I'd be cool. Yeah, literally.
Well, speaking of cool, man, Texas Tech football recruiting right now is pretty cool. A lot of commits. They just had some big official visitor weekends, commits, and great reactions from that. By any definition, a very successful couple of official visitor weekends. The coaching staff is just really crushing it, and we have a lot of questions based off football recruiting because of that from our subscribers, and they're really good ones. Let's start with Red Raider for Life, who wants to know how many more commitments is everyone waiting on for them to announce. Yeah, well, see, this is a good question, and what I have right now is 5. Now there's a 6th that I believe has said they're solid with Texas Tech, but with all the numbers, they're at 13 announced commits, and McGuire has said 18. He said in the spring. From another very good source, I was told, hey, maybe it's 20, maybe 21 if we can make it work somehow. So they're trying to fit them all in, but it's going to depend on some of the decisions the coaches are going to have to make with the spots, and and then depend on maybe 1 or 2 of those guys having to take a preferred walk-on, but then act like it's a scholarship. But we're talking about Texas top 100, Texas top 120 guys maybe walking on at Texas Tech. So I don't know if they're prepared to do that. I haven't had those conversations with anybody about that. I just know how it goes, and that's where we sit right now. OBX Raider wants to know what our take is on how long these silent commits are going to remain silent. Well, Mighty Joe, there's at least a couple that are going to wait till July. There's one that isn't talked about as much, but he is a highly rated guy, heavily recruited, and I'm not talking about the big one, but that's expected to be by the end of this month, so in the next week or so. And then there's the big one I'm expecting in the coming days is what. So we'll see when he's an interesting personality, to say the least. I think he enjoys teasing the fan bases and all that, but I think y'all know who I'm talking about. But what I've heard is it's going to be in the coming days, this upcoming week, or I guess, yeah, next week. All right, Midnight Raider wants to know, he says, we have a very talented quarterback room with more on the way. How realistic is it for Texas Tech to keep them here until their turn?
I really don't think that's too much of a part of the calculus of the coaches when they're looking at this sort of thing.
Yeah.
At the quarterback position. I believe what they do is they simply recruit the best possible quarterback for the system they can find, and they make sure they have numbers for each season. And basically what you want is 3 very competent quarterbacks that can get the job done. And so as long as they've got that, I mean, yeah, you would prefer to hang on to guys and develop them over the course of 3-4 seasons. But if that doesn't happen, as long as you're able to fill in and have, an experienced top quarterback and somewhat experienced number 2 guy, and then a quality freshman as your third guy.
Yes.
If you've got that scenario, you're in good condition, good shape. And I would say one other thing, that this is, fortunately for football, it's not as bad as basketball in terms of guys just jumping ship left and right. In football, there does seem to be more of an emphasis on development because, maybe football requires more development.
It's the nature of it, right?
Yes, it's not just, freshmen in football generally do not come in and make a massive splash unless they're just truly, truly exceptional. In basketball, that happens quite a bit. Guys are double-digit scorers immediately, and then boom, there's everybody is after them, so they can get up and go. You don't worry about that quite as much as in football, and thank God for that.
Next question comes from Anonymous, who wants to know, hypothetically, how does Michael Hudsons' commitment impact the national outlook for Texas Tech's football perception and recruiting? Well, the perception of Texas Tech football has already changed. I mean, that's something I can't help but notice, and I have even before I came to this job. Just the way writers regionally and nationally, report on and consider Texas Tech. And for a long time, they just didn't, to be honest. Great fan base, great school, but the football team had been so bad for so long that why would you? And that I never took it personally. It made sense. But they've stacked a couple of decent, solid seasons now. And Joey McGuire has this recruiting thing going. If you land, and we talked about it in a recruiting video already released, Joe, just overall of the class, but having that star, top 10 national recruit, 5-star guy, the highest rated guy that you would have ever signed, definitely in the modern recruiting area, but probably in program history, period. I mean, that's huge. Of course that changes the perception. And, I think we'll see it with how future Texas Tech commitments are ranked, that they don't drop like we've seen before. And I think we'll see it just in terms of when they're in living rooms with, prospective recruits and their parents and their family and everything.
Yeah, Hudson is generally considered maybe the best player in the state of Texas right now.
He's one or two.
One or two. I'm not sure Tech has ever signed anybody quite that highly rated before. I know
in the 70s.
Early in the 70s, Tech signed a couple of quarterbacks, Joe Barnes and Jimmy Carmichael, who were the top 2 quarterbacks in the state of Texas, but I don't know if they were the number 1 player necessarily. So that is, if you win that sort of a recruiting title for the state of Texas, that's, I'm not going to say it'll create shockwaves necessarily, but it creates a couple of ripples. And they're not liking those ripples down in Austin too much, I imagine. It can't do anything but help somewhat.
Yeah, it's not just Austin, but this guy could have gone anywhere he wanted. Alabama's recruited Michael Hart, Ohio State, but it's always, I think Texas Tech fans enjoy, angering the Longhorns probably about as much as anybody. TCU's starting to creep up there with the kind of the rivalry, obviously with regionally and being in the Big 12. But I think there's no doubt in my mind that Joey McGuire and his staff, James Blanchard, Brian Nance, everybody, they've grabbed the attention of the other schools in the Big 12 and in the country perhaps. Next question comes from Syntax Red Raider, who says, if we had to choose one school from the group of 5 to join the Big 12, but also kick one school out of the Big 12, who would we choose? We had something similar a couple weeks ago. Joe, you go ahead, man. You take this one.
Yeah, as far as the addition, I'd go with Toledo, University of Toledo. Yeah,
I didn't see that coming.
Yeah, because, there are a lot of mid-major type schools that, for whatever reason, they're consistently good.
Yeah.
I don't know why it is. Virginia Commonwealth, for instance, in basketball, Grand Canyon College of all places, they're good in a lot of things. Coastal Carolina, who are these guys? You never heard of them 25 years ago, and now, sometimes they're in the top 25 in football, and Dayton is another one that just tends to be pretty good, and Toledo is one of those from the G5 group of 5 conferences that the questioner stipulated. And Toledo is just always good. For this season, beginning this century, beginning in 2001, they made it to 14 straight bowl games, or 14 bowl games this century. I think that's more than Tech, and admittedly there are a lot of bowls out there now, but still, that kind of consistency is good. They've just been really good in football for a long time. One of those mid-majors that if they were to get a boost by coming into a Power 5 conference, that might just kick them up a notch. They'd have to expand their stadium a little bit, 26,000, 27,000 right now. You want to get it up to probably over 40. But I could see if Toledo were to join something like the Big 12, they would really, really improve, and they're already pretty good.
Who would you kick out?
I would kick out, well, again, we talked about this. Who do you kick out? Somebody asked. And for me, I don't want to kick anybody out, but the one school that just really doesn't excite me too much is the new addition, Houston.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know, man. It's just, I just kind of go, the Cougars, sorry, but they just really don't do it for me. It's not like there's anything wrong with it or anything, but if I had to get rid of one, that might be at the top of my list.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'll throw in my addition. Tulane is somebody who's come on in football here recently, and I think that would be pretty cool. New Orleans, regionally it fits. It's kind of compared to BYU or West Virginia fits regionally with the Big 12. In all of Power 5, I would kick out Rutgers. They just don't belong. I know the history of college football being played there, all that, but what's the point of Rutgers? You know, other than I guess they're in the New York area. But are a lot of New Yorkers like clamoring to watch Rutgers football and basketball?
No, I don't think so.
No, me neither. All right, final question comes from Easy One, who wants to know how many spots does Texas Tech have left in their 2024 recruiting class? This is always changing. So what I tell you right now might be different, you know, down the road. But what I believe is they have 2 or 3 more spots in addition to the 13 commits and the guys who have already verbally committed to the coaches but haven't yet announced yet. So I think 2 or 3 spots. I think there's, I can't say what position or who I think, because that would kind of reveal who has actually committed. But that's really where I see it, is 2 or 3 spots, Joe.
Right. Well, it's going to be whatever it is, whatever that final number is, looking like it's going to be a heck of a class.
Absolutely. Heck of a round of questions from y'all. Really appreciate it. And great stuff from you as always, Mighty Joe. Thank y'all for watching, and until next time.